Window chimes. That's a perfect intro for this. Let's see what those window chimes are about. All right. So welcome everyone to Thinking Thursday's recording. And actually we learned a lesson the last time. And we're going to listen to said lesson. If I can get untangled. You can hear me a lot better if I have this one. Please excuse the dog making a mess in the back. So, joining us today in the chat should be Bluebird Talks if she wants to say hi. And then we can get that another thing out of the way. This week's topic is thankfulness. And this topic does not come lightly, considering what has happened in Iowa over the past week. There we go. So over the past week, a hurricane on land, or a Terecho, I don't know how you say it exactly, hit Iowa. It wiped out did considerable damage to about a 50 mile by, 120 or 130 mile, basically from Des Moines to the Mississippi River, 50 mile stretch in that range got hit. Now, for those of you that are used to hurricanes, I'm very happy for you. You've dealt with this. We got about a 30-minute warning. Those of you who follow my storm chasing, I was in it. I wrote it out. Say hi to the kitty in the background. I wrote it out in a car. I faced 80 plus mile an hour winds in my storm chase vehicle. Now, like I said, we got about a 30-minute warning. And when I say by we, I mean every one of us ham operators in the Jasper County area got a warning because we were all listening to what was going on in West Des Moines. For those of you who don't know, I storm spot in Jasper County, Iowa. I was set up with 15 minutes to spare before it hit us. And I was further west towards Des Moines than a lot of the other group. I was reporting stuff to them, which they were getting hit with 10 to 15 minutes later. So it was bad. Billions of dollars in crops lost, homes destroyed, people displaced. For those of you who have never ridden out a tornado or know what a tornado is like, a tornado will destroy one town, maybe two towns, depending on the severity of the tornado. Now, looking around, seeing some of the damage I've seen, and I've seen damage from an EF1 tornado. I've seen damage from an EF0 tornado, which is just farmland damage. But I've also seen what it can do, an EF5 can do. EF5 was Parkersburg, Iowa. I was boots on the ground for that. I helped clean up after that. So looking around, this Terecho did damage what I would say an EF2 or an EF3 would do. It didn't relocate houses like an EF4 or an EF5 would do, but it did considerable structure damage. It was intense. I think they recorded 113 mile an hour winds in some areas. So Cat 3 hurricane winds hitting structure. For an instance, I only think an EF2 or an EF3 is in the winds in there are 90 mile per hour approximately. EF4, EF5 is over 110, but the Vegeta scale is based on destruction, not per se wind speed. So an EF1 by wind in EF1 could be an EF3 or an EF4 depending on how long and how much it destroys, if that makes sense. And this is going to bring me to today's topic, thankfulness. We in our house, we got out lucky. We had a little light tree damage. We've got 250 plus trees, 250 plus foot trees in our backyard. We lost very little branches out of them. We lost 3 branches out of the 25-foot tree out front. That was it. My neighbors lost the top out of one of their trees, and they lost probably a good 30-foot branch out of another, which thankfully fell straight down. It did not come into our property, because the way the wind was blowing, it should have blown right on top of us. On top of that, they've got a 60-footer right next to my garage that should have came down on top of my garage and on top of my house. We didn't have anything like that. So thankfully, we were okay. We did lose power from roughly 10:30, 11 a.m. last Monday morning, 10 August 2020, until Thursday night. We had to evacuate the little one to where there was power and to where there was, I don't want to say adequate safety. We were fine. We were safe. It's just with everything going down, daycare got canceled. We still have to work because we're essential service, and our place we work didn't take damage. So we evacuated the little one up with Grandpa and Grandma, and he's still up there right now. But thinking about that, I rode out this storm, thought the car was going to be blown over on its side, was going to roll. And I'm very thankful that it did not. We lost power for 4 days. There are still people in the state of Iowa right now who don't have power. Storm cleanup will probably be for another month. And that's if we don't get hit with another storm. This has been a very, very calm storm season. Usually we have tornadoes drop in the state of Iowa once a week during this time of the year, if not a little less frequent. So this has been a very calm storm season for the state of Iowa. Then we're not out of the woods yet. So storm cleanup in my area is going to be a month. There's going to be power outages probably for another week, maybe 2 in some areas. The Cedar Rapids, Lynn County area is devastated. Cedar Rapids looks, honest to God, like it got hit with an EF3 or an EF4 tornado. I don't think there was any structures relocated, but I mean, it's bad there. They have residents that they don't think will have power for the rest of the month over there. So, which makes me down to this. What are you thankful for? Thinking Thursdays was going from philosophy. I have a basic question, and I want you guys to drop your answers in the comments in the chat. What are you thankful for? Because last Monday, I was hoping to get really, really, really awesome footage of a tornado hitting cropland. That was my intent when I went storm spotting. I was going to get footage for you guys of an EF0 hitting crops. I went to the position where I thought where it was going to be the best for it. I set up, and when it hit, my thought went to, well, this isn't going to be a tornado. If it does, I'm screwed because it's going to be rain wrapped. I'm thankful for my safety. On lessons learned from that, my radio communications weren't that greatest. I could hear my crew, but they couldn't hear me. I'm rectifying that. Trust me, you're going to get a new rig update here probably within the next week. I'm thankful for my family being safe. Bluebird was here at home sleeping. I go out storm spotting. I'm going to let her sleep. I'll let her know if something's up. She never got a phone call from me. She woke up with the tornado sirens going off. Tornado sirens, in which case, hello, I helped get started. When I'm saying I've got 60 plus mile an hour winds, and they're starting to hit where we live, and they're starting to sound. So they had the heads up for me, so I always had a process. I never got a phone call out to Bluebird. So she woke up from storm sirens. Had we had trees hit the house, if she never woke up to the sirens, she might have got hurt. Very thankful nothing like that happened. I'm thankful for the power, which is powering the light right next to me. For the power for the computer, for the food. I mean, everything went to straight chaos in the matter of what, 20 minutes? About 20 minutes here. It took me an hour and a half to make my 10 minutes to get back to home. It's a 10-minute trip or a 15-minute trip from where I'm sitting to where I was spotting at. And we drove by it tonight, and all the corn is flat there. Thankfully, the wires are still up, and those are the same poles. And it took me an hour and a half to get back home. So I am thankful for the safety of not only what we had, but my neighbors were safe. One neighbor was at work. The wife's at home. We're trying to figure stuff out. They took more damage than we did, but we were all safe. I think there's been 3, maybe 4 fatalities as of right now with this system. There's been a few dozen injuries. A lot of that has been cleanup, and a lot of that was during the storm. 3 fatalities. Okay, any fatality is not a good thing, but you normally get 3 to 4 fatalities when a tornado strikes a town. And we're talking about 120 some mile area that got hit, and you only have 3 to 4 fatalities. That's amazing. And it didn't stop with us. It went into Illinois. It went into I heard it finished out in Ohio. But we got some of the worst of it in Iowa. So I want the topic tonight. I want you thinking Thursday to be thankfulness. I want to know what you're thankful for. I am thankful to be sitting in this chair talking to you right now because I could have died that day. When I storm spot, when I put my 4-ways on and I'm sitting on the side of the road, I don't have a seatbelt on. I need maneuverability. I need to twist, turn. I'm opening the door. I'm in and out of the car. I put my seatbelt on right before I went and recorded that first little tidbit. I was riding out 50 or so mile an hour winds before I put my seatbelt on and then started recording for you guys. By the way, my car was already doing this when I re-put my seatbelt on. So I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful nothing came through my window. I'm thankful the power line didn't come on me. I'm thankful my home is all right. I'm thankful my neighbors are all right. My neighborhood in general lost some trees. I don't think really anyone had too much property damage. We had a fence get damaged right down the way. But for the most part, my neighborhood fared out well. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for, being able to get home. I might have not been able to get home. Like I said, a 15-minute trip took me an hour and a half. I had to drive through 3 ditches, and I was driving through trees to get home. I was lucky to get home. So I want to hear what you're thankful for. Also, I want to make this a press for emergency preparedness. If you are in an area that is prone to severe weather, you need to have a plan. I use, as everyone knows, radio. This is my backup communications. We actually lost the radio repeater, but did not lose cell service at the time. So Bluebird was able to talk to me on the cell phone. I was still talking to my guys on this, but we lost the repeater. We were still able to communicate because radios don't rely on anything but other radios. I go over to what we call a simplex frequency, which is a non-repeater frequency. I can talk to anyone within 10 miles of this radio based on the power output of this radio. There is a radio that will be upcoming that's going to have more power than that. So emergency communications, have a plan. What are you going to do if this happens? What if something happens? Emergency food. The whole town went out, and it wasn't just our town. So we had some food with us. We actually ended up started cooking everything in the freezer because we were going to lose the freezer. We knew we were. Um, Emergency shelter. Have an evacuation plan to an emergency shelter in a relative's house far away. Worst case scenario, we could have evacuated to my parents' house that was way far away from the situation. Worst case. It didn't come to that. Have a tent. There's a friend of mine that bought a tent today that looks bigger than his first apartment. And that's his words, not mine. So an emergency shelter, a way to start a fire if you need to, lighting. We have candles. We have a candle business. We started lighting candles. We were good for emergency lighting, but we are going to get a generator for the refrigerated goods next time. So just think about that. But yeah, today I want you all to be thinking about what you are thankful for. And I want to know, if you had to ride out a storm and it was a bad storm, let it be a hurricane, earthquake, derecho, tornado, blizzard. We get those in the state, and there's a lot of states that get them. Wildfire. If you're involved with a natural disaster and you were to lose something that's not necessarily devastating, like not a family member, but material things, sentimental things, what are you thankful for that, what are you thankful for that if you lost that you would miss but you could do without? And what things could you not do without? That's what I want to hear in the comments below this week. Well, thank you all. I actually do need to get to that phone call, but I've said my piece. We'll see you on the next Thinking Thursday.